I just found 3 hornworms in the garden, and there's probably a lot more where that came from. So with that in mind, let's go see what we can harvest from the garden today. I'm starting off with the zucchini plant. I don't see the tag anywhere. If there was a tag, my kids probably already removed it. Yep, I don't see any anywhere. The plant itself looks a little sad, which is to be expected because it gets full sun and it's been really hot lately, but it still has been quite productive. And you guys can see one of the beautiful squash right here. This one could probably still get much bigger than this, but I think I like them better when they're smaller just because they're really tender. So I'm gonna remove it now. And look how nice that looks. And then there's another one growing over here, but it looks kind of washed out. And then another one that didn't make it. So I'm gonna remove that one. And you guys can tell just because it's dried up. And I just toss it back in the beds to break down. This little plant was once a little scallop squash, but it also fried with our son. And there's one tiny little fruit on it, so I'm gonna bring that indoors. Look how little it is. And at the same time, while I'm in here, I'm going to remove this plant. I never pull the whole plant out of the garden bed. I just cut it at the base, maybe even about an inch below the soil line. And then the rest of this, I'll just mulch back into the garden bed. The reason I do this is so I don't disrupt the soil life. Everything that gets left behind will break down eventually. There's red wriggler worms inside of these garden beds, which will also help to break everything down. So I always avoid just yanking things out of the garden beds. And due to the little hornworm situation, I'm scared to go near the pepper and tomato plants, but look how gorgeous these look. We definitely need to bring them indoors because as you can see here, some are starting to be pecked by birds and also drying up on the vines. Some of these are almost camouflaged by these huge lettuce plants that are going to seed. But if we move everything aside, you can see some beautiful clusters here as well. Oh, and look at these. I can't really see. If you guys will remember, this is actually a volunteer tomato tomato and it's extremely productive. And then up on the trellis, we can see a few more. I'm just double checking to make sure there's no hornworms around. I might have to cut them one at a time. And those that I can't reach with my pruners, I'm just going to pull off. Uh-oh, trying not to drop them like I just did. Ah. Oops. Okay, let's put the pruners down. I keep being stubborn and I want to prune them off just because I like the sound, but I think I need to just go in with my hands at this point. I think this is probably going to be the best harvest of tomatoes I've had so far. These are all cherry tomatoes, but I can't wait to get the bigger slicer tomatoes. And I want to make sure that I get these off now because it's going to be way hotter starting tomorrow. We're going to be well over 100 degrees. And just like any other plant, if I don't pick the tomatoes as they continue to ripen, the plant isn't going to be as productive because it's going to think it's done its job already. So I want to make sure that it keeps on producing for me throughout the season. And what's really cool is that a few weeks ago, I remember coming out here and picking a tomato at a time because there just wasn't that many that were ready at once. And now I feel like there's so many. It's like from one day to the next, all of them decided they were ready to come indoors. Woo! What just fell? A leaf, a leaf. By the way, look at the color of these, you guys. I'm not only taking the red ones, but the ones that are starting to blush a little as well. Like this one right here, even though it's more orange, it'll turn red probably either tomorrow or the day after just because the temps are so high right now. Ooh, okay, I think I got this side covered. Now I need to move on to the other side of the plant. Can you guys see these clusters right here? I'm only gonna take the ripe ones right now. And I hope I'm getting them all because it's kind of hard to see. Uh-oh, oh no. My tomato! Next, I'm moving on to this pepper plant because down here, one of them has already started changing colors, as you can see there. Next up is the eggplant, and I can already see down here. Oh, this one must have gotten picked. Did I leave this one? This one is shaped really funky, and it's really hard, so I must have picked it at some point and maybe dropped it and left it there because it's hard. So it'll probably reseed itself. I'm just gonna leave it in the garden bed. Maybe during the night the worms can come up and eat it. But in the meantime, I'm gonna look in here and bring most of these indoors. Oh, you guys see how this one is starting to switch? That's not at all what I want because this one, if I let it go longer, it would be good for seeds. But as of right now, it'll probably be a little bit bitter and it's also very hard. And then let's come over on this side because I know for sure that there's gonna be some good ones. We've got another gorgeous squash right here. And this one, oh no, this is not the right label. Oh, maybe it's right here. Nope, sugar baby watermelon. Okay, I don't know what variety this is. But look how pretty that looks. It's kind of hard to tell, but look at these beautiful peppers down here. Hidden amongst all these nasturtiums, which by the way need to come out because they're getting dried up. So I'm actually gonna cut them out right now. The nasturtiums look gorgeous while the weather was still a bit cooler, but once it heats up, they just don't seem to like it as much. But look at these peppers, you guys. Can you guys see them? Uh-oh, look at that curve. That makes me kind of nervous. Oh, there's some more down here too. The rest of them are still green, so I'm gonna leave them on there a little longer. Oh, this one's also curved. Last but not least, I'm gonna go through and pick all of these peppers. Over on this plant, which by the way is probably close to 5 feet by now. At least the tallest portion of it, which is crazy because again, this plant was not very productive its first year. And it stayed relatively small actually. I need to stake up all these sunflowers back here. Oh, but look at this pepper right here, you guys. It looks kind of funky. I think I'm gonna throw that one back in there because I don't really want it. Oh, there's so many back here. So I think I'll just chat with you guys again while I pick all of these. As you guys know, hornworm season is upon us again here in Arizona, or at least here in my garden, which is not what I look forward to because hornworms really freak me out. And did you guys know that they actually spit out goo? So as you guys can see, I need to stake up a lot of these sunflowers, especially because it's been so windy. And it's freaking me out now that I have seen the hornworms. Every time a little leaf brushes against me, I freak out and I keep thinking that a hornworm is on me. Because, okay, so the reason I found the first one was I was actually setting up to film this video and I moved my kid's bench up against one of the grapevines. And when I did that, I heard a thud and I looked down and a hornworm had just fallen down right next to me. And of course I freaked out and screamed and my husband came and grabbed it and then found 2 others. And usually when it comes to hornworms, I check the floor. That's the biggest sign I see. Sometimes, depending on their size, it's hard to tell the damage unless it's extensive damage or if they're bigger hornworms because then they eat so much more. But when they're first developing, it's a little harder for me to notice them. And I've tried coming out here with a black light and that hasn't worked out for me. There was times when I would come out here with my sister too, just because I was too scared on my own. And I wouldn't find anything. And the next morning I would find like 5 or 6 hornworms. I say my husband, because I'm too scared. But aside from that, another little update I want to give you guys is that my irrigation stuff finally came in from Drip Depot. I don't know if you guys have ever set up drip in your gardens or in your yards, but my go-to place is an online website called Drip Depot. Their prices are incredible and their shipping is really good. I ordered them, I think sometime last week, and it already arrived this week. It was supposed to get here yesterday, and I was actually supposed to film it today, but they were recoating the streets in my neighborhood, so the FedEx truck wasn't able to get through, and it was delivered today a little bit too late. And because it's been so hot, I wasn't able to set it up. Hopefully by next week I can set it up, because then I'll have the peace of mind that I don't have to worry about the garden beds at all. And then I can just focus on fertilizing them and amending them, but watering won't be an issue. And right now I've been able to keep up, but I feel like I haven't been like excelling at it. And I know that the plants grow so much better when they have the appropriate amount of water and they're not going through really wet and then really dry periods, especially for things like tomatoes. My tomatoes, the 3 little gallons for my container challenge, were not doing so great. And I think a large part of that had to do with the fact that I left for a few days on a trip. And when I came back, I noticed that several of them had blossom end rot. And I checked the moisture in the containers and it was really dry. So even though they were getting watered, they would dry out far too quickly in between waterings. So then I switched the watering and went from 1 time a day to 2 times a day. And now the containers look super happy. Even the ones that are in full sun, which makes me super happy as well, because that's the last thing you want to worry about, you know, is spending all the energy, maybe starting a plant from seed and then fertilizing it, feeding it, pruning it, and then watering is what takes it out or makes the fruit inedible. That's a little update for now. I don't think I've made a single dent in this plant. It's just got so many peppers on here. And these are a lot smaller than the Serrano peppers, which I think makes it a bit harder as well. It's got several red ones though. I need to go take another bag to my in-laws because this is too much for me. And here's what I harvested from the garden today.